Imagine you're driving home after work when your phone lights up with a text that looks exactly like it came from your bank. It says there's suspicious activity on your debit card, a charge you don't recognize, a purchase in another state. The message tells you to reply right away if it wasn't you. You do. 30 seconds later, your phone rings. The caller ID shows your bank's name. The person on the other end sounds calm, professional, and oddly reassuring. They already know your name. They know the last 4 digits of your card. They say they're trying to stop fraud before money leaves your account. Then they ask one simple question. Can you read me the 6-digit code we just sent to your phone? That question is the trap. And the reason it works is because it sounds like security when it's actually the last step in a theft. A lot of adults in the United States think the biggest risk is giving away a password. But in many modern bank scams, the password is only the first door. The verification code is the deadbolt. It is often the final piece a scammer needs to log in, reset your access, add a payment service, approve a transfer, or convince a fraud system that they are you. By the time this is over, you'll understand why that one question matters so much, why a message can look completely real and still be fake, what legitimate banks generally do and do not ask in unexpected calls or texts, and what practical steps can help protect your money before panic takes over. Here's what makes this especially dangerous. The scam usually doesn't begin with a demand. It begins with a favor. The caller sounds like they're helping you. They don't say, I'm trying to steal from you. They say, I'm trying to secure your account. They create urgency, but it is a polished urgency. It feels organized. It feels routine. Sometimes they even tell you not to share information with anyone else, as if they are giving you professional advice. That is not an accident. Scam artists know that most people lower their guard when they think a problem is already being handled by an authority figure. And this is where many viewers get confused. If the text looks real, and the caller ID shows the real bank name, and the person seems to know something about you, how can it still be a scam? Because none of those things proves the person contacting you is legitimate. Caller ID can be spoofed. A fake text can copy the tone of real bank alerts. A scammer may already have pieces of your information from an earlier data breach, a phishing attempt, a stolen statement, or even public records mixed with social media details. They don't need to know everything. They only need to know enough to sound believable, long enough to get you to hand over the one thing they still need. That one thing is often the code. The Federal Trade Commission explains verification codes in a very simple way. When you log into a financial account, you may be asked for your password and then sent a one-time code by text or email. That second step is a form of two-factor authentication. In plain English, it means one key is not enough. A scammer may know your password or username, but without the temporary code, getting into the account is harder. That is exactly why scammers want it. They are not asking for a meaningless number. They are asking for proof that lets a system treat them like you. So when someone calls and says, I just sent a code to verify your identity, it sounds harmless. It sounds procedural. But if that person contacted you out of the blue, that code may not be for identity verification at all. It may be for a password reset. It may be for adding a new device. It may be for enrolling in a payment service. It may be for approving a transaction. It may be the code standing between your money and the person trying to move it. The FTC says anyone who asks for your verification code is a scammer. That statement is powerful because it cuts through confusion. If somebody needs that code from your phone or email, the safest assumption is not that they are protecting you. The safest assumption is that they are trying to get into something that belongs to you. Now let's slow down and deal with an important nuance because real life is messy and viewers deserve a responsible explanation. There are situations where you call your bank directly using a trusted number and the bank verifies your identity. A bank agent may ask questions based on information already on file. They may ask you to confirm recent transactions. They may use a secure process inside the official app or website. Policies can differ by institution. But that is very different from an unexpected call, text, or email pressuring you to read back a code, click a link, or move money. That difference matters. Who started the contact matters. The channel matters. The timing matters. And whether you are being rushed matters. That is why the title of this video is so important. Your bank will never ask you. This question should not be understood as a magic slogan that solves every edge case in every possible customer service scenario. It should be understood as a protective rule for the moment most scams happen. Unsolicited contact. If someone reaches out to you unexpectedly and asks for a code, password, PIN, or says you need to move money to keep it safe, your safest move is to stop the conversation and verify everything through a number or app you chose yourself. And there's another detail that gets overlooked. The code is only one version of the trap. Banks and consumer protection agencies repeatedly warn people not to hand over passwords, PINs, card details, social security numbers, or full account information in response to suspicious messages. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says, Banks and credit unions do not ask for account information by email or text message. Capital One says it will never ask you over the phone for your online banking password. Chase warns that a reputable bank will never ask you to send money to yourself. Put those together, and a pattern becomes obvious. A legitimate institution does not need to trick you into bypassing its own security. But scammers do. Suppose you get a text saying your checking account was used for a large transfer. You panic. A caller claiming to be from the bank's fraud department tells you your account has been compromised, and the fastest way to protect your money is to move it into a safe account. Maybe they call it a holding account. Maybe they call it a secure wallet. Maybe they say it's just temporary while the fraud team investigates. That sounds official. It sounds like the bank is containing damage. But according to scam guidance from major banks, that is a giant red flag. A real bank does not fix fraud by telling you to wire money to yourself, send it through a payment app, convert it to crypto, or read back a code so someone else can do it for you. If you remember only one sentence from this entire script, remember this. When somebody creates panic and then tells you the solution is speed, secrecy, or self-transfer, you are no longer in a customer service conversation. You are in the middle of a scam script. Why does panic work so well? Because bank scams target the exact emotion most careful adults cannot ignore: the fear of losing control of their own money. If someone says your card was used in another state, your brain does not want a seminar. It wants action. Scam artists know that. They want you operating in emergency mode. They want you reacting before you think. The American Bankers Association's campaign called Banks Never Ask That highlights classic red flags: pressure, secrecy, links, attachments, requests for personal information, and demands to send money through payment apps. None of that is random. Those are tools used to rush you past your normal judgment. And once that happens, small mistakes start to feel reasonable. Reading back a code feels reasonable because you think it is part of stopping fraud. Clicking a link feels reasonable because you think it will take you to the bank. Staying on the phone feels reasonable because you think hanging up might interrupt the investigation. Sending money to yourself feels reasonable because you think the bank is walking you through a protective step. Ignoring the warning on the text feels reasonable because the caller says the warning is generic. That last part is one of the most manipulative tricks in the whole scam. Some institutions warn customers inside the text message itself not to share the code with anyone, so the scammer gets ahead of it. They say, yes, the message says that, but I'm from the bank and this is the fraud team. Or they say, that warning is for merchants, not for us. Or they say, if we don't verify you now, the transfer will go through. In other words, they ask you to distrust the very security warning designed to protect you. A legitimate bank does not need to coach you around its own warnings. That's worth repeating, because it is one of the cleanest ways to spot deception. A real fraud department may warn you. A scammer will explain away the warning. Now let's talk about the biggest misunderstanding people have after they hear a message like this. They think the scam starts when the caller asks for sensitive information. Often, it starts earlier. It starts when the scammer gets you to confirm that you are worried. The moment you answer the text, the moment you sound scared on the phone, the moment you start asking, oh no, what do I do? The scammer knows they have the emotional opening they wanted. From there, every line is designed to keep you dependent on them for the next step. That dependence is dangerous. It means the scammer controls the pace, the explanation, and your sense of what is normal. They become the narrator inside your emergency. And when a criminal becomes the narrator, the truth becomes whatever gets the transaction finished. So what should you do instead? In the real world, in the moment, when your phone is buzzing and your stomach drops? First, stop. Not forever. Just long enough to get your judgment back. Do not read back the code. Do not click the link. Do not move money. Do not trust the callback number in the text. Do not assume the caller ID proves anything. End the contact. Then start over using a source you trust. That means the phone number on the back of your debit card, the number on a paper statement you already have, or the contact option inside the official banking app or website that you typed in yourself. Not the number they gave you, not the link they sent you, not the call they placed to you. That one reset changes the whole situation. On the scammer's line, you're inside their story. On the bank's actual line, you're back inside reality. Here's where a lot of people push back. They say, but what if the alert turns out to be real? What if I waste time hanging up? That fear is understandable. But official guidance points in the same direction again and again. If a message worries you, contact your bank directly using trusted contact information. In other words, verifying independently is not overreacting. It is exactly what consumer protection experts want you to do. And that brings us to another R question most people do not ask until it is too late. What if you already gave the code? If that happened, act fast, but act in the right order. Contact your bank or credit union immediately through an official number. Tell them exactly what happened. Tell them what information you shared, whether you clicked any links, whether you sent money, and whether anyone had access to your login, card, or device. Ask them to lock or monitor the account, review recent transactions, and document your report. If the code was tied to online banking, change your password right away from a clean, trusted device, and if you reuse that password anywhere else, change those too. Review your email account as well, because email access often helps scammers reset financial logins. Then check for signs the scam went further than you realized. Were new payees added? Was a mailing address changed? Was a phone number on the account updated? Was a digital wallet added? Were there small test charges before something bigger? Scam losses do not always happen instantly. Sometimes the criminal-esque goal is access first and theft second. And if money is already missing, timing matters. Under federal consumer protection rules for many electronic fund transfers, prompt reporting can make a big difference. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says that once you notify your bank or credit union about an unauthorized transaction, it generally has 10 business days to investigate. If your debit card or PIN was lost or stolen, reporting within 2 business days can help limit your liability. And if an unauthorized transfer shows up on your statement, you generally should notify the institution no later than 60 days after the statement is sent. Those time limits matter. But this is where the law gets more complicated than most people expect, and it is important not to oversimplify. If someone steals from your account without your permission, federal protections may help you dispute the transaction. If you were tricked into making the transfer yourself, the case can become harder, because the bank may argue that the transfer was authorized, even though it was induced by fraud. That does not mean you should give up. It means you should report the incident immediately, explain the deception clearly, preserve messages and call logs, and understand that the outcome can depend on the facts, the payment method, the institution's policies, and the exact legal issue involved. That distinction between unauthorized and tricked into authorizing is one of the most important concepts viewers can learn. A scammer wants you focused on the emotion of the moment. The law later focuses on the mechanics. Who initiated the transfer? What credentials were used? Did you approve something yourself? Was your debit card involved? Was it a wire, a peer-to-peer payment, an account takeover? Those details can shape what remedies are available. This is why the best protection is still preventing the transfer in the first place. And prevention is often less about technical skill than about pattern recognition. For example, imagine a caller says, "Your Zelle profile has been compromised. To secure your account, send the balance to yourself using this email address." That sounds absurd when you hear it slowly, but in real time, with pressure, a spoofed number, and a professional tone, it can sound like a guided fraud reversal. Or imagine the caller says, "I'm going to send a code to your phone. Read it back so I can cancel the suspicious charge." Again, absurd in hindsight, but in the moment, it feels like a procedural checkbox. That is why you need a rule stronger than your mood. Rules beat panic. Here's a good one. No matter how urgent the message sounds, I will not use contact information provided by the suspicious message to solve the suspicious message. Here's another. I will not share a one-time code with the person who contacted me first. And one more. If anyone claiming to be my bank tells me to move money, ignore a warning, or keep the process secret, I will treat that as a fraud signal, not a security step. There's another detail many people miss. Not every fake bank communication is trying to get you to act right away. Some are trying to train you. A fake alert today can make you more responsive tomorrow. A harmless-looking phishing email can confirm your address is active. A fake website can collect your login over time. The FDIC has warned that criminals also create fake bank websites and may even misuse the FDIC name or logo to look legitimate. So the problem is not only bad phone calls, it is the larger impersonation system around them. That means you should look at the whole environment. Did the text come from a strange number? Did the website address have a misspelling? Did the email create fear? Did the sender ask for a full social security number, card details, or a password? Did they tell you not to trust other bank employees? Bank of America. His scam guidance warns about exactly those tactics: impersonation, emotion, urgency, deception, and unusual payment methods. Scammers do not just lie. They try to isolate you from the people and warnings that could interrupt the lie. That isolation is why some fraud victims later say, "I don't know why I believed it. Looking back, it seems obvious." It seems obvious only after the pressure is gone. During the scam, the story feels closed. The scammer gives you a beginning, a threat, a hero, and a solution. They make themselves the hero. Your job is to break that story before it reaches the ending they want. One of the simplest ways to do that is to involve another person. If you are flustered, talk to a spouse, adult child, friend, or coworker before you act. Scammers hate witnesses. They hate pause. They hate second opinions. The scam often survives only as long as you stay alone with it. This matters even more for older adults, people handling accounts for aging parents, and anyone who manages money under stress. A person caring for a family member may already be tired. A person dealing with medical bills may already be distracted. A person who just got laid off may already be on edge. Scam artists do not randomly target emotion. They look for people whose attention is stretched thin enough that a confident voice can take over. And while we are being practical, businesses should be especially careful too. Consumer rules that help individuals do not always work the same way for business accounts. Some scam warnings from banks specifically mention business customers being targeted for account access, wire fraud, and token or code theft. So if you handle payroll, vendor payments, or a small company account, the safest habits matter even more. Independent verification, separation of duties, and refusing code requests can prevent losses that are much harder to unwind. Now, let us answer a question that sounds small but matters a lot. What if the caller already knows real information about you? Maybe they know your address. Maybe they know where you bank. Maybe they know part of your account number. Does that make the call real? No. It makes the criminal informed, that is all. People still give too much weight to partial information. A scammer may know a lot and still be an outsider. Data leaks happen. Mail gets stolen. Old credentials circulate. Pieces of information get traded, guessed, or pulled together from multiple places. The test is not whether the caller knows something. The test is whether you can verify them through a trusted channel you control. The same rule applies to text threads. Some fake messages appear in the same thread as genuine alerts. That rattles people because it feels impossible. But technical appearance is not legal proof. It is just another layer of disguise. The more convincing the wrapper becomes, the more important it is not to interact inside the wrapper. There's also a practical difference between protecting your account and protecting your device. If you clicked a suspicious link, the risk may not stop at your bank. You may need to scan your device, remove unknown apps, review browser-saved passwords, and watch your email and other financial accounts. If you downloaded an attachment or gave remote access to someone, the issue may be broader than a single transaction. That is a bigger cleanup job, but it starts with the same first step. Stop engaging the suspicious contact and use official channels. And if you are wondering whether you should report the scam even if you did not lose money, the answer is yes. Report it to your bank, report it to the FTC. In some cases, a complaint to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center may also be appropriate, especially if money moved or the fraud crossed digital channels. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency points people toward reporting crime, phishing, and consumer fraud complaints because these reports help detect patterns, support investigations, and warn others. Reporting is not just paperwork. It is part of how authorities see the shape of the problem. Now, let's bring this back to the original title because the phrase sounds simple, but the lesson behind it is deeper than one sentence. Your bank will never ask you this question. The question is not just, what's the 6-digit code? The real question is, will you let fear override your verification process? That is what the scam is always asking, even when the words are different. Will you trust the name on the screen more than the rule in your head? Will you trust urgency more than procedure? Will you trust a stranger's script more than your own pause? Once you see that, the whole scam changes. It stops being a clever trick and becomes a pattern. And patterns can be broken. So here's the practical takeaway I want every viewer to leave with. If you get an unexpected call, text, or email claiming to be from your bank, do not make decisions inside that contact. Do not read back one-time codes. Do not give passwords or PINs. Do not click links. Do not move money because someone says it is the safe thing to do. End the conversation. Open your app, your statement, or the back of your card. Contact the institution directly. Ask whether there is really a problem. If there is, you can handle it on a legitimate channel. If there is not, you just saved yourself from becoming the next person saying, "I can't believe I fell for it." And if something already happened, don't waste time on embarrassment. Shame helps scammers more than it helps you. Report it. Lock things down. Document everything. Move quickly. Because the smartest response to a polished lie is not proving you are impossible to fool. It is building a routine that does not care how convincing the lie sounds. Imagine that same drive home again. The same text. The same ringing phone. The same calm voice saying there's a problem and they need one little code. But this time, you know what the question really means. It means somebody wants access. It means somebody wants you moving too fast. It means the safest thing you can do is nothing they asked. And that small decision, made in 10 quiet seconds, can be the difference between a strange message you laugh about later and a fraud case that takes months to unwind. That is why this topic matters. Not because everyone is careless, because the scam is designed for careful people. It is designed for people who care about security, who respond quickly, who want to do the right thing, who believe institutions when institutions appear to be speaking. That is exactly why the defense has to be simple enough to remember under pressure. No codes, no passwords, no panic transfers, no solving a suspicious message through the suspicious message. If you hold on to that, you will already be harder to scam than the criminal expected.